Hello everyone. So I promised that I would make a video about cryptocurrency mining. So, well, wait. This is the entire room. On this computer I just worked, the one in the middle. Then I got one rig here and one rig here. So yeah, for everyone that wants to start mining, a rig basically consists of a few parts, and I will try to explain that now and my journey in cryptocurrency in general. Cryptocurrency is very popular now. Actually, it's the most popular trading type now on the internet. And there's a lot of people that want to start buying equipment and start the process of mining to generate some cryptocurrencies for themselves. So basically what you need to make a cryptocurrency mining rig is some computer parts. You need a motherboard, which is like this big black thing. You need a monitor, keyboard, mouse. You need a CPU or central processing unit or core processing unit, I don't know, which is something that looks like this in the store, and it's a small chip that goes, let me see, where that fan is spinning, or in the case of this one, it's under there. It's a square thing. And then you need 4 GB of RAM minimum, which is this little HyperX stick that is inside. And then you need the graphical cards like this or like these, a power supply unit, and solid state drive. Yeah, so now that we have talked about what the essential parts are, I'm going to tell a little bit more about my personal experience and things that I added. You see many people using PCI Express slots, which are these things. Oh, I hope you can see it. They have 4 parts basically. This big blue thing, then a blue 3.0 USB cable, and a 6-pin to SATA connector, and I removed it. And it has this little thing at the end, which you can use to put here. And then with the USB cable you can place the graphic cards on a wooden or metal or aluminium frame like this. And the reason why people do that is because you can see here I cannot put one extra graphic card in the first slot over here and not over there, because it takes too much space. And it's also because of the heat problems that arise when you put a graphic card directly onto the motherboard instead of like that. So it might look very intimidating to have all these cables and stuff. This is all for example purposes, by the way. The rig basically ends here. But I will talk about some of the components that I use and some of the problems that I run into, which I don't want you to have the same. So the first thing that I really do not like is power supply units, non-modular, like this. Like this. Why I don't like them is because all the cables come like this in some kind of snake, and if you don't need some cables you cannot remove them. And just a moment, in the case of a modular power supply like this, you can see I can choose which cables to put in and which not, and the ones that I don't use I can remove. And it's the same over here with this power supply. So when I wanted to start mining, I thought I was being cheap. Sorry, and I bought 2 of these cheap power supply units, which is basically a waste of money because I don't use them, and they are not even compatible with most of my cards. So another thing that you should look out for is the rating on the power supply. Like this one says 80 plus platinum, and the Thermaltake that I have here is Gold Plus. So why do you want to do this? Because if you use bronze or silver or white and you get a power shortage or something happens to your power supply, all of your cards, motherboard, everything else will die or damage. So if you're going to buy for hundreds or even thousands of dollars or euros or any type of money in graphical cards, you do not want to save money on a power supply. Try to buy the biggest ones possible is my advice, because they, just like graphic cards, they sell out very quickly because everyone uses them to mine. Like I bought the 1200 PT one because there were no EVGA 1600s or ATX 1200s from Corsair. More about power supply. For every rig, I think you should use some machine like this. In America it's called a kilowatt, here it's just an electron, and it shows you how much wattage is being used. So in this case it's about 400 to 450, sometimes 300 that's being used. Try to not use more than 80% of your power supply. So this one is 1200, 120 is 10%, so try not to go past 960 with this one. And I would recommend this to everyone, never to go above 80% of your power supply's capacity, because that can be dangerous. The next thing is your power supply unit always comes with, do I have one here? With these kind of cables, they call it rails, and it consists of most of the times 4 exits, so like 1, 2, 3, 4. Never put more than 1. They say you can do 2, but I'd say use one of these cables for one card, another one for a second card, third one, fourth one, etc. Why? Because many people will think, oh, this has 4 slots, I can just, you know, put one of these cables in all the 4 exits because it has 4 exits. But that's not a smart idea, because one of these things, I thought it was 75 watt that they transmit or make flow from one side to the other, and it is recommended to do a maximum of 150 on one rail. So you could do 2, but for safety reasons I just do 1. Now try to use as less SATA cables as possible in the first place if you can power your cards directly to the power supply instead of by the rail. That counts for everything. Try to use as less attachments or converters. Like I can show you this. These are 6-pin to Molex, which essentially, if you don't have these cables, you can put in one of this and then connect them with the Molex reel. I would always prefer SATA above Molex, because this is old technology, this is new technology, and I really do not trust these things. These things you see in all the YouTube videos, every miner uses these because they're safer and they don't like easily melt or cause a fire or something. Okay, so I've talked about that. Then yeah, some things that I want to go over to, some problems that I had when in my like cryptocurrency mining experience is my first motherboard that I bought was kind of expensive one, which is the MSI 7, and as you can see it has power button, reset button, overclock button. Then I bought the Biostar TB250 motherboard, this one, and you might already see there is not even a power button on this. So I googled like how can I then even turn on the PC, because I turned on the PSU and nothing happened. And they said that I had to go with this, with a screwdriver, and make a spark there on the power button, where now this external power button is, to make it go on. I wasn't very sure about this, and I don't recommend people doing it, because if you hit the wrong pins here, you actually damage the motherboard. So if your motherboard does not have a power button on it, just order one like this from eBay. It's about $5. It's external power button, and you put the colored cables like this. I hope you guys can see it. So in the front is red and blue, and in the back is like the Italian flag. It's like green, white, orange in the back. This is the correct way to do them. I had them positioned in the wrong way first, and it didn't go on. Okay, so how do you start when you actually bought all the equipment and you want to start? You start off by taking the motherboard and the power supply unit. You don't plug in yet, but you plug in the 24 pin, which is this one, the big one that has 20 or 24 cables, and this one into your CPU. This is your CPU power line, like where your process, where your CPU is. You have to be careful that you don't put this in the wrong position. If you put these like the other way around, then you can seriously damage your board, or it won't turn on anyway. After you did that, you put your CPU in there, a stick of RAM in the RAM slot, and the first card that you want to use, you put in the 16 slot lane. So not in like a small one like this or with a PCI card, just directly into the motherboard like this. You start up Windows or whatever operating system you're using. You download the drivers for the first card once they're ready, and once, just a moment, once you can see, this is Windows 10 by the way, once you can see your machine here, or your, you cannot see that good with this camera, but when you go to device manager, you have to see it in display adapters, your card. Then you just turn off your PC and you add additional cards here in the rack, or in your rig, sorry, and then you connect them with the PCI cables like this. The blue USB cable goes into this thing goes into these slots, with the little arm where my thumb is now over the slot. Don't try to really push it that hard, it should fit quite easily. Then you turn on your computer again and you download the drivers, and it should see all the miners. Now that was basically it. If you have any other what more can I explain? Then you just connect to the internet. I'm not using Wi-Fi, I'm just using these Ethernet cables to connect to my router. You download the miner software that you want to use, you put in your address, and you just keep them, keep your miners running. In the beginning it can be very frustrating that sometimes your miners stop after 5 minutes, or after 10 minutes, or after half an hour, or after a few hours. The problem to solve this is, in most cases, extra RAM. Like this one has 4 GB of RAM, and this one works 24/7. And this one would stop before every few hours. Then I added a second piece of 4 GB RAM, and all the problem was solved. Now they run 24/7. Another thing that you really do not want to do is cable management like this. Well, it is quite easy to distinguish that the ones with blue come from that power supply, and the ones with red come from that power supply. However, there were a few cables like this, which were only black, and I didn't know if this now came from this power supply or that. And it must be said that you cannot use cables from like one power supply into the other, because it will not work and can cause a fire. It is very dangerous to do something like that. Well, I'm now mining Ethereum in SIA with the Claymore's dual miner, and I track the process here. Here I can see how it is going. So I have 250 SIA here, and my miners are currently busy mining. Here you can see the speed, and with Ethereum I can also see how it is going here. I mine them straight into my Ether wallet, and for Siacoin I mine them to my Poloniex account. But my Ethereum, every time it is like this, when it reaches the payment threshold of 0.2 ETH, I put them on my Ledger hardware wallet, and I suggest you to do the same and not keep everything online or in a wallet. And yeah, that was it, I think, for now. I would really like some feedback. If you say something like, oh, you should not do something like this, or you should change this and this, please let me know in the comments. I will post a lot more videos about my mining experience, because a lot of people have been asking me how it is going and what to do, and if I run into any problems. I will make specific videos about that. But yeah, so once more, this is my mining room. It looks really like almost like a hardware store, but this is where the magic happens. This is how I mine my cryptocurrency. I hope you guys find this informative, and yeah, like and subscribe or leave a comment, and I'll get back to you pretty soon. Thanks all for watching, and yeah, visit my website onlinehandel.com sometimes if you're Dutch and you want to trade cryptocurrencies online. Bye.